All right, so let me. You guys want to be pointing the cameras to these guys? They're going to be. So, thank you for being here. What I'd like to do is introduce Chris Beatty, the senior creative director behind the Fantasyland expansion right here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Storybook Circus area that we opened up, and then what we'll actually do is we'll get a really nice sneak peek at all the things that is going on behind the wall. So, with that, I'll go ahead and hand it off with Chris.
Great. So let me give you just a quick sort of little explanation of the circus and a backstory on the circus. So as we enter the circus and we pass through the main marquee, which is not up yet, but it will be arriving shortly, you've entered into Carrollwood Park. And that park is a small park on the edge of an old circuit or old train line somewhere in the Midwest. It's the 1940s, early 1950s is the era that you'll be stepping into. And I'm sure all of you know what the history of the Carrollwood Park and the relationship to trains and Walt Disney. That was his train line. It was in his backyard. So when you go through the land, you'll see little glimpses of a CP or the Carrollwood Park logo. That is our little tip of the hat to Walt, his toy train that was in the backyard. So Carrollwood Park is the setting. Casey Jr. has brought the circus to town. He's dropped off, Dumbo. He's set up a couple other attractions that we'll talk about. But Dumbo really is the star of the show in the circus. So you'll see him with all of the gilding and the sculpting, and he really sets up the tone for the environment that you're ready to step into. So let's walk down. We'll take a look at Dumbo, Barnstormer, and the new train station. Size of Fantasyland physically. So this is it is quite an honor to get to do this. It's not every day that we get to work on a Fantasyland within one of our castle parks. I think the real treat here is just the amazing detail that you're going to see. Just in the paving, there's story. We tried to put storytelling into everything we do. That's one of our traits as Imagineers. If you look at the paving, we even hid peanuts. They're not real peanuts. Don't freak out. But there are peanuts even hidden here in the hardscape of the area development. You'll see animal tracks that help support that story about the circus coming to town. And like I said, Dumbo really is the star of the show. So in the backdrop of the big top here, you can see Dumbo the flying elephant. Couple great things about Dumbo. We brightened the color palette a lot, tried to give it more of that 1950s era kind of look. A lot of great hidden details in Dumbo. If you look closely at the top, you'll see the stork delivering the little Dumbos to Mrs. Jumbo. Mrs. Jumbo is just below. She's looking proudly at her son flying around the circus. And then some of the details, if you really look closely, what look like those gold filigree elements are really elephant trunks, and they're holding peanuts and they're holding feathers. So there's a lot of double reeds that we work to hide in the ornamentation of the attraction. Probably one of my favorite elements is down around the bottom are 8 illustrations that we had commissioned that tell the story of Dumbo. Beautifully done in the style of the film by an artist from Feature Animation. So, we tried to add a lot more color. The music, sets a great tone for the placemaking. But we're very proud to have our first Dumbo online. And in the near future, you'll see Dumbo #2 come online as well. So this is our circus. This is the first stop in the circus. Now let's go down. We'll look at Barnstormer. The circus always has its stars. Like I said, Dumbo is the star of the Storybook Circus. So you always have your B acts, right? So Goofy is sort of the tag-along of the circus. He's not the big star that Dumbo is. So when you see everything carved and beautiful for Dumbo and this pristine paint, Goofy's barely keeping it together over here in his act. He is the stuntman of the circus. He does all kinds of acts. He jumps over sharks. He wrestles bears. He juggles tigers over Niagara Falls. It just so happens that today, the day you are here, he is performing his aerial acrobatics and the Barnstormer. So you get to board the little plane here, go up the lift hill and take off on a high-flying adventure through the sky. He's not such a great pilot. He does run through the billboard. He runs through the lift tower. But this is a great rite of passage coaster for our younger guests, our families. We're really, really happy with it. But this is Barnstormer featuring the great Goofini. And there's some great details. As we walk by and look at the train station, look up the cube. You'll see his rocket from his rocket gag, or his rocket stunt, where he straps himself to a rocket and tries to shoot himself into the air. There's even a cannon that looks like he just shot himself across the path and through the target over here to the left. So some great detail up the queue and storytelling as part of Barnstormer. Let's walk down, we'll take a look at the train station. On the clock here, you can see this. That was the Walt's logo from his old rail line. So it sort of sets the tone for the train station. This is the Fantasyland station. This is where you will enter in to board the Walt Disney World Railroad. You can see the trains pulled up here as we're here right now, taking on passengers. So this is a working station here in the front, but in the back, coupled with the train station, is our set of restrooms, which are designed to look like an old roundhouse. This is important because you can see in the paving of the area development, there are a couple spur lines that have come in off the main line of the railroad. This will look like when we're finished that Casey has brought the train in here off the spur line and he's resting while the circus unloads. It looks like he could turn on the wood table and go right back out the line, connect into the Walt Disney World Railroad, and take off to the next little town down the road. So the roundhouse, believe it or not, we even have tracks inside the restrooms. So it looks like the trains can be parked right at night and pulled into the roundhouse and be put away or worked on. But some great theming here. You can see that 1930s era style brick, Midwest kind of brick, really sets the tone and a great backdrop for the circus coming to this little town on the edge of the rail line. Okay, so let's go up and let's look at the main part of Fantasyland. We'll go up and look at the Fantasyland Forest next.